1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. We did it last week. He was so good. We're bringing him back this week. Joe Manganiello of the Watertown Daily Times and the Crossover Chronicles breaking down Game 6 of the NBA Finals. The Warriors close out the Cavs, Joe, 104-97, but it really wasn't as close as that final score indicates. Your initial thoughts there on Game 6 and on the Warriors taking their first title since 1975?
Yeah, I mean, we could sort of feel it after Game 5 especially. Golden State closes out this series sort of like how they did it to Memphis. They go down 2-1, they make an important adjustment, and then they take 3 in a row, and it was convincing. Golden State was a better team. They had more horses to run out there, and Cleveland just looked beat. They looked dog-tired. They made one last push late. J.R. Smith hit a few jumpers and kind of woke everybody up one last time, but Golden State ran away with it there at the end.
There's just too many options for the Warriors. I mean, look, as we said, this was expected. The Cavs needed to play a nearly perfect game, and they needed some of the Warriors to be off, and it didn't help. Look, the Cavs, they held Klay Thompson in check. He played not well last night. He was under 10 points in scoring. He was fouled out of the game. Curry played well, but it's not like he did anything that's super unexpected. But really, it was Andre Iguodala, it was Draymond Green, it was Sean Livingston, it was Barbosa. It was all these role players for the Warriors that stepped up, right? That was the difference, the depth, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Golden State finishes with 13 made three-pointers, had a decent shooting day. We never really saw their 10 out of 10 A-plus basketball this series, but it was just enough. Cleveland was terrible from the perimeter yet again, 23% shooting from behind the arc, 39% shooting for the day. They just didn't have a ton of great offensive options. But look, LeBron James, he still was great. Again, 32 points, 18 rebounds, 9 assists, 33 field goal attempts, so another high-volume outing for LeBron. But it just wasn't enough, and Brady, you said it right. When Golden State has enough guys where Klay Thompson doesn't have to be on, he finishes with 5 points, and they still score over 100 points. They just had too many options for Cleveland to defend.
Andre Iguodala wins the MVP over Steph Curry and over LeBron James. Are you okay with that selection?
Yeah, it was weird. On the podcast with Crossover Chronicles on Monday, I had thrown out there sort of as a joke that I thought Iguodala should end up with it because it felt right. He did such a good job on LeBron and had made enough plays offensively for them. But I thought LeBron was going to win. I thought most people assumed LeBron was going to walk away with the trophy. And when I saw Iguodala, get the award, he's shaking Bill Russell's hand, I was sort of in disbelief, but it feels right to me. I mean, Brady, you and I talked about it last week. He has had such a great career in the NBA, and look, he's probably not a Hall of Fame guy. Although I know at this point they let just about anybody in. But he's had such a great career, and he lacked that signature moment, and I think this was his moment. I feel like we're going to remember Iguodala in 2015. Coming off the bench for the Warriors all years and stepping up in the starting lineup, taking LeBron on defense and making just enough plays offensively to help Golden State win their first championship. And that feels right to me. I think this award was deserved at the end of the day.
The coaching side of things is what I really want to ask you about. And look, I didn't watch all the post-game coverage yesterday. There's certainly more to come today and in the coming days. The one thing that I want your opinion on is this. Mark Jackson calling all these games for ABC and ESPN throughout the playoffs and doing it like a pro. That was his job last year. He laid the foundation. Maybe Steve Kerr got him over the hump that Mark Jackson couldn't. But nonetheless, this team was good because of the foundation that Mark Jackson helped lay. And I hope that Steve Kerr acknowledges that at some point throughout this week. Don't you?
And I think he will. And I think Steve Kerr has been nothing but magnanimous, as has Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson deserves a lot of praise for being a real stand-up guy throughout this whole process. It was sort of awkward that he was calling the NBA Finals and Golden State was on this magical run all year. They finished 83-20, and he had to sit there and watch it. But these are two great guys. I think they both have a ton of respect for each other. I'm putting out a piece today with Crossover Chronicles about Iguodala and him getting the Finals MVP, and a lot of this season is about Kerr convincing him as a first-time head coach, look, it's the best move for the team for you to come off the bench for us. I think the reason why Iguodala bought into that was because Kerr is such a great basketball mind, and he has an ability to convince people to commit to this team effort. He's been around Phil Jackson. He's been around Greg Popovich. He knows how to get the job done. So I think Mark Jackson, as much as anyone, can appreciate just how great a job Steve Kerr did. And I also think Kerr appreciates that Jackson created a foundation, that he was able to come in, tweak a couple things, not do too much, and still be able to get a championship effort from his guys. So these two men definitely have respect for each other.
On the other side of things, on the other side of the coaching carousel is David Blatt. And look, I've been outspoken this season. I'm tired of the David Blatt criticism for the fact, look, who's going to come in and coach this team that's put together late, right before training camp? You take on LeBron when you didn't know you were going to have him, and you have to deal just with LeBron and all that comes with LeBron in the city of Cleveland. I think David Blatt, for a first-time head coach, I think he did a good job. Could he have played Mozgov more in Game 5? Yes, but there's things like that in throughout the season for every coach and every team. It just got magnified because of the LeBron situation. Did David Blatt do a bad job in your mind? I think he was pretty good for his first year.
No, I thought he did a very fine job. You know, I thought for having 7 real basketball players to use in this series, he did a pretty good job controlling his rotation. I think Steve Kerr got the last laugh once he started. When he put Iguodala back in the starting lineup in Game 4, it really tested Blatt's ability to get anything going offensively, because all of a sudden now you can't start Mozgov, or if you do, you're rolling the dice because Golden State can just stretch him out, bring him away from the hoop on defense. And, you know, Mozgov never really was the same in the series after that. It was a very brilliant chess move by Steve Kerr. But yeah, that's not Blatt's fault. And I think Blatt still made a ton of sound decisions, even in the 3 losses there at the end. It'll be interesting, Brady, if Blatt comes back, which I assume he will. There's no reason that he shouldn't. What Cleveland does next year with a full, healthy roster, and hopefully a chance to make a run in the postseason with Love and Irving. Because I think Blatt did show a lot of great signs as a first-time NBA head coach. And look, this is a guy with decades of experience overseas. You know, he's been doing this for a long time. So I want to see what he can do with a full roster next year.
If you're the Warriors, I know you're not thinking this way, but you, the basketball analyst, the basketball fan, are the Warriors not lucky? That's not the right word, but did they benefit a lot here from injuries around the league this year? Obviously, Oklahoma City was not the same team that they could have and should have been. Westbrook and Durant both missed time. Portland lost key players in the season and in the playoffs. They were not the same team. In the East, obviously, the Cavs are not the same team that they should have been. Chicago wasn't the same team that it could have been. Do you almost feel like there's a bit of an asterisk next to this title, or was Golden State the best team in your mind no matter what?
Well, I'm going to reference a name that you and I both know, our mutual friend Blaze Hill. He's a Golden State Warriors diehard fan, and he and I were talking. He was very concerned about what you just said before the final started, because he said, look, we didn't have to play the Spurs, we didn't have to play the Clippers, and now we're getting the Cavaliers minus Love, and then after Game 1, minus Irving. And he's like, I have a feeling that we are going to be slighted if we win the title for not having a real competition. And once the Cavs made this a series and they went up 2-1, he and I sort of agreed that at least historically people would talk about it as a competitive series and would give Golden State that credit. In my opinion, it is the hardest thing to do in the sport to win a championship, whether it's against the absolute toughest stretch of opponents, or in this case, you know, Golden State had to go through the West without having to play 2 teams that I think would have challenged them quite a bit in the Spurs and Clippers. I think Golden State, start to finish, they were the best team, and that can't be taken away from them.
Joe Manganiello of the Watertown Daily Times and the Crossover Chronicles, thanks for being with us, and best of luck. We'll talk to you soon.
Brady, thank you for having me.